Prahlad Maharaj, everybody knows who Prahlad Maharaj is, right? He's one of the 12 Mahajans. Mahajan means one who, by his teachings and by his example, he shows the way how to practice devotional service. So there are 12 Mahajans mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Lord Brahma, Swayambhuva Manu, Vyasadeva, Sukadeva Goswami, Bhishma, Janak, Prahlad, Bali Maharaj, Yamaraj, 12 Mahajans. So by the example they show the path of devotional service. And devotional service is not sentimental, it's not based on our own whims and fancy. The path is given by the Mahajans. By their behavior and by their example, we try to follow, and then we are safe. Otherwise, if we try to follow our own sentiment or our own sentiments from our village or town or whatever, then we may get lost very quickly. So not giving the mind that room. That if I am practicing devotional service, then I should always follow the path of Mahajans. It's not very restrictive. Sometimes the mind says, it's so restrictive if I have to follow. But you see, if you want to lose weight, or if you want to go to the gym and exercise properly, if you use your own imagination, you see that machine, you see those weights, you use your own imagination, and then you come home limping, right? You can injure yourself. So in all areas of our life, we use experts. So similarly, to practice devotional service, we follow Mahajans. Prahlad Maharaj is very important because you'll see in the whole of Bhagavatam, there are so many devotees described. But the maximum amount of time that is given in Bhagavatam to one devotee is Prahlad Maharaj. In the 7th canto, there are 9 or 10 chapters dedicated to him. And then the 4 chapters dedicated to Bali Maharaj, who is his grandson. He's his grandson. So 9 plus 4, 13. And then there is one more chapter given to Banasur, who was the son of Bali Maharaj. So you see Prahlad Maharaj's dynasty is taking the maximum amount of time in Srimad Bhagavatam. No other devotee is talked about so much in Srimad Bhagavatam as Prahlad Maharaj and his family. So very, very important personality. So we'll read his teachings. Everybody has 7, 6, 1. And this Prahlad Maharaj is teaching at the age of 5. He is teaching to his classmates. When the teachers would go away, at lunchtime he would collect all his friends, and instead of talking about this game and that game, he's talking about giving them some useful knowledge about Krishna. This is a very important verse, the first verse. It says, Komara acharet pragyo dharman bhagavataniha durlabham manusham janma taddapyad dhruvam arthadam. Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection.
The whole purpose of Vedic civilization and of reading the Vedas is to attain the perfect stage of devotional service in the human form of life. According to the Vedic system, therefore, from the very beginning of life, the brahmacharya system is introduced so that from one's very childhood, from the age of 5 years, one can practice modifying one's human activities so as to engage perfectly in devotional service. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2.40, Swalpamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayad. Even a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Modern civilization, not referring to the verdicts of Vedic literature, is so cruel to the members of human society that instead of teaching children to become brahmacharis, it teaches mothers to kill their children, even in the womb, on the plea of curbing the increase of population. And if by chance a child is saved, he is educated only for sense gratification. Gradually, throughout the entire world, human society is losing interest in the perfection of life. Indeed, men are living like cats and dogs, spoiling the duration of their human lives by actually preparing to transmigrate again to the degraded species among the 8.4 million forms of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is anxious to serve human society by teaching people to perform devotional service, which can save a human being from being degraded again to animal life. As already stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavad Dharma consists of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. In all the colleges, schools, and universities and at home, all children and youth should be taught to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, they should be taught to hear the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, to put them into practice in their lives, and thus to become strong in devotional service, free from fear of being degraded to animal life. Following Bhagavad Dharma has been made extremely easy in this age of Kali. The Shastra says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalau nasti eva, nasti eva gatir anyatha. One need only chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everyone engaged in the practice of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be completely cleansed from the core of his heart and be saved from the cycle of birth and death. These are strong words from Prahlad Maharaj in Prabhupada's purport, where he talks about the purpose of life and how modern society, Prabhupada actually referred to our modern educational system as being slaughterhouses. Very strong word. Right? And why is that? And here Prabhupada is talking about that, how because it's teaching that enjoying matter is the standard of human happiness. That's really what it boils down to, is when we consider that this world of matter is all that we have and enjoying it is the purpose of life, and this educational system is actually geared towards that, then what is wrong with that is we actually we are not able to experience that which is really due to us, which is the highest form of happiness. Rather, we cheat ourselves into just settling down for something that is not ultimately satisfying to the heart. So should we pause here and just kind of have a discussion and see if there's anything that you heard that that stood out for you? And we can pass around the microphones.
We have two microphones. The green one is there, and orange one should be there somewhere. Is it the battery?
So,
So one on this side of the room and on that side of the room.
anybody have? Yes, sorry. Yes,
It teaches
Eric. Okay, Nitika and then Eric. Yeah.
the point when it says,
Third in the back.
when it mentions that it teaches the woman to kill child in the womb. So yeah, that's very strong. And
Yeah.
we say in Christianity, they practice that we should not kill the child, but in our Bhagavatam also it mentions the same.
Yeah. It's in this time, in this age, it's a big discussion, and in the political circle, this whole idea of pro-life, pro-choice. But yeah, there are karmic reactions to everything that we do, and the Srimad Bhagavatam states that this is a product, an act of something that is a result of life in Kali Yuga. That of course there are people who argue on the other side, and they say, what if a woman gets raped, or there are so many situations. But anyways, the point is that all in all, living in the material world means that there will be some karmic reaction, and this is a very severe karmic reaction that one has to incur. Yes, Eric.
Is this working?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. All right. So it's interesting, your last comment before you asked for questions. I was just walking around today thinking about our educational system, which I now...
Can you hold it closer? Yeah.
How about like this?
Yes, very much.
Okay. So I was walking around thinking about our educational system because now I'm tangentially involved in it. I teach, it's going to end soon, but I teach a class on English writing to children of Chinese immigrants in Walter Johnson High School. It's just a 1-hour class. And it's really made an impact on me because these kids, I mean, they're basically American kids. I think they speak English better than I do. I mean, seriously, they at least think more clearly than I do. And I think, but there's something wrong with the way their minds are being formed. And I was thinking, how can I articulate what that is? I know what it is, but I'm not really sure how to say it. And you just said it. It's that our educational system is geared towards teaching kids to enjoy matter, enjoy what they can see and touch. And anything that challenges that primary goal has to be beaten down as quickly and effectively as possible. And I would say it's not just our education. I mean, I've been saying this for a long time, in the almost 2 years I've been coming here. But it's not just our educational system, it's our whole culture is now based on forgetting about anything beyond what we can see and touch.
Thank you so much. It's one of my biggest gripes, I guess. I've lived here for so many years, and I see how it causes so much of suffering. Like every time I see so much of suffering, and then when you trace it back, it always comes down to these premises or assumptions that we make about life. And what you just said is exactly what it boils down to. That this world of matter, it's my birthright to enjoy it. It's my and anything that kind of gets in the way becomes a form of injustice, right? So it's not just about my sense enjoyment, it's also about the sense enjoyment of everyone around me. And this is all that we are talking about. And the other thing I've always thought about is that any civilization that is centered around just a fight for rights, it can never be a happy civilization, right? And the ancient Vedic civilization was about duties, about obligations. What's my responsibility in making the world a better place? When we have this turnaround, and we see that especially with kids as they're growing up, it creates such a self-absorbed, right, and self-obsessed, group of people that it's about me, it's about my happiness, and that's my birthright. But the reality of life is never like that, right? It's all about. And then here is the other point, is that my happiness has to be connected to your happiness. I can never be, they say that a mother can be as happy as her, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember the exact quote. It says something like a mother can only be as happy as her saddest child. And I was thinking about that it actually goes beyond just mother and child relationship. That we can only be as happy as our happiest neighbor, right? If we are surrounded by sad people, so people's unhappiness and sadness, if there is a shooting somewhere, we are not immune to it. If we see accident, or if we see people who are suffering, we can never be immune. So my personal happiness is not just my personal happiness. My choices are not just my own choices. They actually affect each one of us, and in that way we are much more interconnected than we think we are, right? And so I guess our modern civilization just kind of says that it's you, your choices, your happiness, and that's like one bubble. But that bubble is always in relationship to other bubbles. And that's really why we live, they're saying that, there was an article I think in Time magazine, they said that loneliness is going to be the number one, cause, and will create so many diseases, and it's going to be a huge, huge problem. They say that loneliness is the new smoking or something like that.
It already is.
It already is. And the reason is not because we don't have people around, it's because everyone is self-contained, trying to be self-contained.
And I guess this verse kind of turns that around on the head. It says, right from the Kaumaram means the age of 5. It says that right from the age of 5, Dharman Bhagavatani, it says, everyone should learn what is my dharma. Everybody should learn, a child should learn, an adult should learn. And whatever age we can pick up, we should learn what our dharma is. And our dharma is to work in conjunction with the desire of the Supreme Lord. That is the only platform of true happiness. Otherwise, we are like if a person is not focusing on the dharma, then we become sad. We eventually become sad and frustrated, and we spread that around. We spread that sadness and frustration around in so many ways. and and that amounts to the society paying the bill in terms of wars, in terms of hatred against each other, in terms of inflation, in terms of so many, every single aspect of our life. We think that it's not connected to how I behave and how I live, but it is actually connected. A society which is geared towards serving, like it says dharma. Dharma means service. Dharma never means rights. Dharma means service. A society that is geared towards service will be happy society. It will be happy, and so many other costs will come down. Will need so much less to live and live happily actually. And it's a collective burden that we are carrying, and therefore it says that right from the very beginning, as you're saying, educational system needs to focus on this, at least start looking at this, that it's not a thing of the old age, like in India people say, oh, when you become 60, 70, when you have dental implants, then that's the time you start thinking about God. But that's not possible, because when your body is giving away and it has rheumatoid arthritis and you can't sit on the chair and you can't sleep on the bed and or so many things, and how will you think of God at that time? You're like totally like edgy and irritated and when is this going to end? So therefore it says one should start from the beginning, because your body is healthy and you have energy, you have gusto, you can do so many things, and this is the time, our youth and our childhood and these are the days when we can offer. Because when the days are gone, then what will you offer to God anyways? You have nothing to offer at that time. You're like this dried up prune. What are you going to offer yourself? You have nothing to offer. So it's better to offer when we have this youthful energy. And therefore there is a king in our tradition. His name is King Kulashekara, very famous devotee from South India, one of the Alvars. And he made this prayer that, when he was the king, he made this prayer that, O Lord, let my life go away right now, while I am young and healthy, so that at the time of leaving my body, my mind is completely absorbed in your lotus feet. I can actually focus on your lotus feet, because when I am old and I am like coughing and I can't even breathe, at that time, how will I focus my mind on you? I'll be like looking at the drip and looking at the nurse, and how am I going to get relief? How will I focus my mind on you? He said, let my life go away right now. So this is something that it's hard to desire like that, but the point there is, the principle there is, let me use the best part of my life to serve God. In whatever tradition we are, we can serve God in unlimited capacity. Krishna has given us unlimited capacity to serve Him. And we can gradually expand that capacity when we are trained from the beginning. Otherwise, so much time is wasted in just undoing it. So that's one of the main points of this verse. Any reflections?
Yeah, I just want to give one, I remember actually like a few years back, like a couple of like maybe 7-8 years back, my friend actually he was studying in Ahmedabad and not Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and I asked, and just for some conversation, he said actually, actually what we are being taught in the schools, the only thing actually we are being taught is how to pull down others' life. That is the whole concept of our education.
How to pull down others?
Put down others' life so that you can be on top of somebody else. So that is the whole crux. So yeah, it is exactly this is how we are being taught.
And that was Prahlad, that's what they were trying to teach Prahlad also, right? That was his education. Competition, right? It's something that we, yeah. Anybody else? Bring it up.
I was just appreciating that Prabhupada, in his purports, he makes it very practical and in very layman terms what the complex verse is. So it sounds complex, but Prabhupada gives a very clear that you should this is the way you should practice it, Bhagavad Gita, bring it into your life, and what age you should start. So I really like that.
I just want to appreciate, my own schooling, in this regard. I went to a Catholic school and we had nuns in our school, and I feel very grateful that it was an environment where there was a lot of God consciousness. There was a lot of prayer, there was a lot of chapel time, and when we were also young and we were innocent and not so rebellious, I guess, so we took it on. We never resisted it, and it was a very beautiful experience. It wasn't our tradition, but it was bhakti. And it does make a huge impact. When you have that, it changes your, the way you perceive the world around you. So it's very powerful. Our kids here experiencing the Bhakti Shala and also experiencing that in their homes. It's really a powerful thing. And I was just reading an article just recently where they're now introducing the Bible in public schools. Did anyone else? It's becoming very popular, in fact. Some states have actually already allowed. There's a group of Christians who are doing that, and they're saying that they're getting such good response, So it's possible that we may start seeing it in our areas too. I don't know, but they're definitely increasing. You can Google it. It's an article that just came out, I think, a week back or so, 10 days ago, in Washington Post. So
It's controversial.
it's very controversial. I'm surprised how they got in, actually.
I'm going to read it. I'm amazed.
Yeah, look it up.
Many like Alabama and Missouri, many states they have allowed, they're getting in.
Yeah, it seems like the states, now the big topic, of course, is the Alabama abortion law.
Right.
But it seems like the more conservative states have had it with waiting, and they're just going to take matters into their own hands and say, we're not going to tolerate this behavior that mocks creation, I guess you can put it like that. And we're just going to, we don't care what the federal government says, we're just going to say, this is our state, this is how we want to live. And I haven't seen this before in my lifetime, this sort of consciousness on the part of the state legislators that they're just going to, they know this is going to be controversial, they know that there's going to be resistance and lawsuits and all sorts of money's going to be spent fighting it, but they're like, okay, bring it on, let's fight.
Yeah, and I read it in Washington Post. This is from USA Today. It says, a wave of Bible literacy bills in public high schools to study the Old and New Testaments. And there, at least in 6 states, would encourage public schools to offer elective classes on the Bible's literary and historical significance. And they're saying it's an integral part of our society and deserves a place in the classroom. And they would require the state's public school, high schools, to offer an elective on Bible studies. The measures between church and state. But they're able to do it. Done right, the bills are legal. So this year, they've been introduced in Florida, Indiana, Missouri, North Dakota, Virginia, and West Virginia. And then at least 3 Bible literacy bills were considered in Alabama, Iowa, and West Virginia, but none passed. So it's a group, and I think they're saying that they're using it as a text. It's a literary text that they want to study. And I'm sure there's a way that they've gotten in. I don't know what's the way. Yeah.
Well, and you've made some posts about how you're able to go into schools and
Yeah.
talk about the Bhagavad Gita, so
Yeah.
it's an opening there.
Yeah, we were surprised. We were very hesitant when they told us to come and do kirtan, and we kept asking the teacher, why do you want us? Isn't that sort of not done? And she said, we are so desperate right now. She said, we just really, I've spoken to the principal, and they say, anything that can help,
What is it supposed to help? What do they?
They're the kids, when we went in, the kids that came to our session, there was so much trauma and so much of, just a lot of mental health challenges that these kids were experiencing, and that's manifesting in the corridors, right, as fights, and as, I think Clarksburg just had a rape case that they've been dealing with. So, there's a lot of stuff going on in our public schools that's a cause for concern, and so right now they're ready to give this a, try. Let's see, maybe this might help, so.
We can read some more instructions from Prahlad Maharaj. They're very, very powerful, and even if one instruction sticks in our heart, that will be our perfection. This is verse number 2. The human form of life affords one a chance to return home back to Godhead. Therefore, every living entity especially in the human form of life, must engage in devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. This devotional service is natural because Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the most beloved, the master of the soul, and the well-wisher of all other living beings. So somebody may say, oh, devotional service, so hard, it's not natural for me. Mind says, I'm not into it, just doesn't get into it. Like we create so many statements to say, and it may be rightfully so, our mind may not be attracted, but it is saying that devotional service is natural because Krishna is our dear most beloved. I'm just going to read some more translations because those are the teachings, and then we can read one or two more purports. Text number 3. Prahlad Maharaj continued, my dear friends, born of demoniac families, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body can be obtained in any form of life, according to one's past fruitive activities. Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain distress. So the reason he's saying that, because in the previous verse says that one should engage in devotional service. So then one may think, what will happen to my fun? What will happen to my happiness? Who's going to take care of that? Like getting up in the morning, chanting and doing this and doing this. I don't have any time left for my fun and enjoyment. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that your fun is guaranteed, don't worry about your fun and enjoyment. Just like you'll, in every form of life, certain amount of happiness is guaranteed. You'll get it because of your past activities. So don't worry about that. You'll obtain it. But the real purpose is different. Text number 4. Endeavors merely for sense gratification or material happiness through economic development are not to be performed, for they result only in a loss of time and energy with no actual profit. If one's endeavors are directed toward Krishna consciousness, one can surely attain the spiritual platform of self-realization. There is no such benefit from engaging oneself in economic development. This is an interesting one. He's saying, don't waste your time in economic development. Do you guys agree, disagree? Partially agree? We agree, yeah, but it's hard to follow, right? Maybe you want to talk about it?
So I just wanted to say that if there were no constraints, if I didn't have to think about how I would pay my bills, I would probably be doing this. So I think that is the case with all of us, right? But that's how all of us think, but we cannot really get into that frame of mind where we just, or I should say that it's not, we cannot sustain ourselves in this material world if we don't engage in some form of economic development.
And your point is rightfully so. Prahlad Maharaj is dealing with his friends who are probably sons and daughters of multimillionaires. They are like the in the school where Prahlad Maharaj was going, that was a very elite private school because it was the school of the king, right? And all the elites were going there. So their base income probably was, the incomes of their parents was in billions and trillions of dollars. So he's basically telling them that don't spend we have to maintain our body and soul. To live, we have to have some economic engagement, otherwise how will we survive? So that is not in question here. The question is any excessive effort to accumulate more and more beyond our comfortable needs. That is being questioned here, and that is being rejected here. So atyahara, there is a principle in Bhagavatam, which is atyahara means atyahara prayasa. Atyahara prayasascha. It says 6 things that really diminish the happiness of our life and diminish our interest in serving God. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpa niyamagraha janasangasya lolyamcha sadvir bhakti vinashyati. So atyahara means accumulating more than what we need. Because the more you accumulate, the more pressure now is to maintain it, and as soon as the money comes, then the mind starts working. Why is my money sitting idle? Right? Kahan se, or how can I make more money out of this sitting money? So the mind starts immediately working under pressure. And if you lose any of that money, even 1%, 2%, 5%, then the mind goes berserk. Like, it's so hard to get money, and if you lose any of it, then the mind goes even more crazy. So Atyahara, it says, accumulating more than what we need and eating more than what we need. Those two things really push us back. Prayasa is another one. Over-endeavoring for things which are difficult to obtain. So like pushing, I want to get this, and I'll just burn 23 hours a day to get that. So that's called prayasa. Excessive endeavor to get something which is, you'll know it is hard to obtain. So those are the things. So maintaining the body and soul is not a problem. We need some economic stability in our life. If the material life is not stable, then it's very hard to practice spiritual life also. So we need enough economic stability. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had a disciple, and Shivananda said, and he was very casual about money. He would not save any money and just spend everything. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had another devotee who was very good with money. So he appointed him. You become his secretary, you manage his money and make sure that he spends wisely and he also saves for his later life. So that is not in question here. That we have to save, we have to manage, but not putting all our energy into that.
So in this world, so in our today's world, what is the pace like that you should just say, okay, this is what I have already and now I should stop?
It's a very subjective thing. We asked a very similar question one long time ago to Jananivas Prabhu, who was a wonderful Vaishnava in Mayapur. He's actually British from England, and he and his brother, they spent their entire life in Mayapur serving the deities there, Nrsingadev deity especially. Today is Nrsingadev appearance day. And we asked him this question, and he said that what you should do is you should see, okay, I have so many years, suppose I have so many more years to live, and you do some reverse engineering and you should think, okay, how much do I really need, and then you should just work for that much. And once you feel like you have that much that you can, your needs are met, then one can then dedicate one's energy more and more towards spiritual cultivation. But the point that I really want to bring out, Gar, is the point that you made that really touched me, and I really appreciated that, which is that if I didn't have this, then this is what I would like to do. And that is really the core of it all. That as long as we have that longing and that desire, that the reason, if I had more time, then I would like to give it here, then what happens is that starts a process where Krishna sees that desire within our heart. And one of the reasons why we don't have sufficient amount of time is because of our work. But there's also another reason why we don't have sufficient amount of time, which is that Krishna's material energy has this amazing way and ability to keep us entangled in this web. There are so many things. And as we develop this desire and we start praying to Krishna, that Krishna, I really just want to serve you, then gradually Krishna starts untangling those web for us. And we start finding that we have actually more and more time in our lives that we can give. So just that one desire, that if I had more time, this is what I would like to do. But unfortunately, because of my living situation, I'm not able to do it. Just that one desire is actually the seed from which wonderful things come about. And Krishna will give us the intelligence, because this idea of Atyahara is a very tricky idea. Somebody could say, like living in the West, we might say, and rightfully so, we need an air conditioning and we need a heating system. I remember when we were growing up, AC was a luxury item. Not so much in India anymore, but definitely when I was growing up, AC was not considered to be a necessity, right? So where do you draw that line? What is a necessity and what is more than a necessity? That comes from genuine spiritual practice and discussing it with devotees and having an honest mind, not a duplicitous mind, and then Krishna reveals to us, this is enough. And also as we practice, our needs also go down, because we are feeling self-satisfied, we are feeling happy. So automatically we don't have as many needs as we would if we didn't have our spiritual connection.
Okay. I also have another silly maybe.
Never silly.
Did they have the concept of inflation back then? because a dollar today is not going to be a dollar worth a dollar in 10 years. So I don't know, if I live for 40 more years, when should I stop?
Yeah, inflation is a big problem because the money is fake. It's not based on gold standard. It's not, and Prabhupada often talks about that. in those times the money was actually silver or gold coins, and with actual substance attached to money, inflation is very minimal because it's based on real value. Right now it's not based on value, so we pay in the price of inflation. The government just keeps on printing money and takes selling bonds, and it's all fake economy. So
the point is that what should we do?
yeah, I mean, what should we do is as you're saying, the first step is to like when you want to we fill our life, we design our life, engineer our life or our daily day based on our spiritual practice. So making that as the center of our life every day, and then adjusting other things around that rather than the other way around, because slowly it may not happen in one day, but as you have that deep desire, so coming to that and hey, this is the main part of my day, and this is how I want to spend my day, and then adjusting other things around that. And so that includes so many other things during the day, not just economic work, but so many other things we do throughout the day. And then Krishna will give you the intelligence how to balance that. But just like a person who is who has a love for, say, playing piano, or has a love for playing, say, cricket, or like in childhood, right? We used to love playing. So anytime the parents would say, do this, or whatever, they would engage in something. So you cut, you will just try to do it as fast as possible and then run. Because this is where the heart is. You want to run and play, right? So you'll figure out, if the heart is there, then you'll figure out which corners to cut in our life, and then the heart will just want to go there. So keep fanning that desire, and then Krishna will show you how to get there.
And that's the Krishna factor, like we're saying, the Krishna will open up those doors when it's time. Obviously, it's not time yet. Even if Krishna allowed us, for example, 24 hours in a day and said, okay, I take care of your economic necessities, all your responsibilities, I'll take care, you don't have to worry about anything, now you can just sit and practice spiritual life. We would not be able to, right? So we don't have the adhikar, or we don't have the necessary qualification to engage in 24 hours. But as we increase our qualification, then Krishna will actually reciprocate and will keep on giving us more and more time. That hankering itself is actually the greatest gift. That longing for it is the greatest gift. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you, from your own experience, I don't know for how many years have you been coming closer and closer to Krishna? Can you say what have you, in your own experience, seen has happened with you in the last 5, 10, 20 years? I don't know. I'm just curious. You may not want to share. It's absolutely okay.
No. I think definitely. I think one can see as one continues to practice that how everything that we engage in the material world, while it is necessary, but ultimately it does not fulfill the deepest part of who we are. Whether it is raising a family, or whether it is our job. Prabhupada uses this word, there's a pinprick in society at large, which means that there is always this sort of this sense of incompleteness that one experiences, right? And I think Emerson said that men lead lives but of quiet desperation. So there is always that sense of desperation that one feels. But in our own experience, as we have practiced spiritual life, as we have tried to engage in Krishna consciousness, we have seen that it has led to a very deep sense of satisfaction, to the point that you feel that this is all we need actually for one's happiness. And it's a gradual shifting, and the shifting is still continuing on. It's not over yet. But one can definitely see a loosening of the attachment on this one side, where earlier maybe my satisfaction and my happiness was dependent on A, B, C, and D, and that those factors kind of diminish in its capacity to entertain you or give you satisfaction. And on the other side, just the simple act of coming together and glorifying Krishna gives you such a deep satisfaction that I was never a party person, never. I never liked parties, I never liked weddings. But I was just reflecting that anything to do with Krishna becomes so joyful. So we had a wedding last Sunday, and we have a party every Friday. And I never have a hangover the next day. I never feel tired in the sense that, oh my God, not again, you know. So that sense of feeling enthusiastic and feeling fulfilled is there. But it's intangible, you know. It's a gradual process of deepening that sense of satisfaction. And it's an ongoing journey, it's not over.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you should.
Yeah, I guess you start developing the sense of belonging to Krishna, and then Krishna belonging to you. I think that sense develops as we practice and as we associate more with devotees. Then you start realizing that there is a connection with you. Krishna cares for you, and then you have a connection with him. And then you start seeing that compassionate care of Krishna in small things in your life and bigger things in your life. So that's Krishna, because Krishna is eager to reveal that to us. We just need to open our life and our hearts. So that's my 2 cents.
You can also ask Murari and Premdham and Shyamnath to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Yeah. And anybody else for that matter.
So you share an experience with
A question, answer, a response to a question.
some person.
What's your, what is it that keeps you, what have you experienced that keeps you going, I guess?
Personally, I'm a very anxiety-prone person, and I've noticed that if in bringing Krishna in your life, in my life, when I brought Krishna in my life, there is something to fall back upon for me. Every day, we face so many situations that are very easy to give us anxiety for the present or for the future. But if I had somebody to fall back upon, and I can tell myself that, even if you can't figure it out, Krishna will take care of it. Don't worry about it. And it's something that I have to practice. I have to bring into cultivation every day. So that's really been very helpful for me from my personal experience. If, as she was just mentioning that, we keep on doing economic development, but where do we put the brakes? That was one of our questions. And I realized that we keep on doing whatever we can at our best, but then we leave the rest to Krishna. There's somebody who's walking with you and who's ready to take the burden off from you, and that's a really very enlivening thought for me 24/7. Otherwise, these anxieties used to keep me awake at night. I used to wake up early in the morning thinking, oh, this is to be done, or this problem is coming up. But then I gave up all of that, and I just said that, I cannot handle it. I cannot take care of it. I'll just let Krishna take care of it. And I didn't say it came over in a day. It takes practice. You have to keep on telling it to yourself every day. But then it eventually comes, and that's really a very happy situation to be in. That I just say, okay, I can't figure it out, but I know Krishna can, and he'll take care of it. And frankly, every day it happens that it does happen. Krishna does take care of it. Yes, you can say, oh no, I figured it out. I can bring my ego into it and say, oh no, I figured it out. But then I can also give the credit to Krishna, saying, oh, he figured it out for me, and that's why I'm in a much better situation. So that's my thought.
Yeah, whatever years that I have practiced, I think the changes I can see in myself is actually the priority has changed. As Punda Prabhu was also mentioning, the things that were troubling us before, actually now because of our priorities have shifted, and we know that is real, and that is what actually going to last with us in years to come. So that is one thing that gives us satisfaction. And I have firm belief that whatever Prabhupada has written, that is real, and that is all true. Like, I have never seen any one line that Prabhupada has said and I can repeat it with my own logic. I have very small logic, but still, actually, everything actually, whatever he said, it made perfect sense to me. When I think, the next thing actually, when you see, okay, when you are on your old age, then whatever actually we have accumulated, that will go away. That is true. But whatever actually I am cultivating now, that is definitely give me satisfaction in my life.
I went to India this year, and my brother-in-law, he told me that if you wear all this neela and all these stones, then there will be a lot of satisfaction in your life. So I was just talking to him that devotees of Krishna don't need Nila, anymore. Because they're always very satisfied to practice properly. So this is what I've seen, that normally you have this thing of you're actually seeing that what is there in this world to make you happy, or what is there in the world to make you feel satisfied. But now we don't look for that. It's there automatically, and it's ever increasing if you practice properly. This is what I mean.
Nice point. We've all gone through that, right? Growing up, when we were in schools and colleges, been there, done it, right? We tried all kinds of different things, didn't work. I think most of us can attest to that, right? It didn't work. It just never. I was just talking to, I can bring up the talk, just an 11-year-old girl, and it was so amazing. Like when I sit and I talk to her, it's like I'm speaking to a kindred spirit, and I was, and I told her, I said, I forget that I'm talking to her, but she complained, she's like, yeah, it doesn't work, And we were like, yeah, it doesn't work, doesn't it? I said, I don't know what it's like in school these days, but it never worked for me. And she said, it doesn't work for me either. So it's like we are generations apart, cultures apart, but the truth still remains the same,
Yeah, that's true. I can, attest what they have said, including that. I would say for me, from the very beginning of life, I had a very cloudy mind about everything. I was not clear about myself, about this world. But from the very first day of Krishna consciousness, Krishna really helped me to understand this world in a very, I would say, in a very clear way. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says it about chanting Chetudarpana Marjanam, that it clears the dust of this material world. But actually Krishna has really cleared the dust of my doubts, and I had so many doubts. My relationships were not good at all. I would say I was a very egoistic person. I'm still I am. But this Krishna consciousness has really, helped me in my relationship with everyone. We had fights with our relatives, and just because of this Krishna consciousness, we became very, very humble. We went. I want to give you micro details so that it's not just a high philosophy thing. It work at a heart level. This Krishna consciousness is more about heart. It really, really melts your heart. It really cleans your heart. So we went to our relatives. We said sorry, and now we have such a sweet relationship with them. If I would have been in the other part of this world, I could have spent my whole life just thinking about this fight only. So Krishna consciousness really cleans your heart, and it really, as Mataji was saying, it really gives you satisfaction, which is the most important thing in the world. And as everyone was saying, you get it when you practice it. The taste, Prabhupada says, the taste of the pudding is in eating. You cannot, you can just listen, but you will get it when you practice it yourself. You cannot, get it by yourself. You have to really practice it.
Anybody else have any other thoughts or comments before we end? We can see. I think Sarita, you had something. No, that's over. I think we can just take any reflections or questions. Yeah.
So, when you were reading the canto or something before, there are 9 Bhagavad. What is that? Like 9
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Swan. Yeah.
So, after Shravanam, Kirtanam, and then other thing, can you explain a little bit?
Okay.
I want to know stuff.
We'll take that offline. Yes, I'll talk to you on we'll talk about that. I just want to see if there's any other. Vivami, any? No? Yeah?
She looked out.
Yeah, it's really nice to have her question. We love it. Anybody? Prabhu, any thoughts? Yeah? Yeah, he doesn't. Well, it's for our online viewers so that they can also hear what you're saying.
I think, that's very important point. You have to take a step. I've been I'm the fortunate one. I've literally seen it practical. My parents, they have been living this life, very minimal needs and sort of body free. focused on accumulating any money or anything. Whenever my uncles or grandparents need anything, he always, without thinking, gave it away. And sometimes my mother used to say, okay, you need money for kids' education and all. So he used to say, literally used to say, सब हो जाएगा, Paramatma will take care of it, Ishwar will take care of it. And always no shaken at all. So I've literally been fortunate to see. I've lived it. Obviously, I didn't realize at that time.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but,
Wow.
and you're still living the very simple life.
Really. Well, you're so fortunate. You're so fortunate to have that example. And Prabhupada says that if you have that, then one can make very rapid spiritual progress because you already have that in your system. Grown up with it. It's so nice. Thank you. So nice to have you, Prabhu, on Narshinga Chaturdashi. I'm so happy to see you back. Eric, any final thoughts from you? Nothing to add. Yeah. So it's a very auspicious. We just talked.
So we can chant the Narasimhadev prayer before we end. Tomorrow we have a wonderful opportunity to serve Lord Narasimhadev. We have Gettysburg Book Festival very close by. So we especially need volunteers towards the later half because a lot of devotees are coming in the first half, but we may run short of people in the second half. So after 12 or 1 o'clock, if you are available, then please come and give a couple of hours and whatever time you can give. This time we have our book booth and our food booth separate, so that kind of makes it a little bit difficult to manage. But please come, and it's the most joyful activity, and you learn a lot. Especially the kids, they learn a lot, managing so many different things. Thank you. roses from outside, and we get the petals, and everybody can offer some petals to Lord Nrsimhadev. We have a small deity of Nrsimhadev. Which one? Yeah, it's okay. So maybe somebody can get a plastic bag and get some flowers. Can somebody go? Grocery bag and put roses there.
Tomorrow it's work. I'm not sure we have some classes, but I'll try.
It's like 10 to 6 anytime.
Yeah, I have that. Yeah, I'll try.